welcome back to Not That It Matters. And I know y'all were disappointed that it never Wednesday show. Schedule didn't allow for it. We might be dropping those full time for now, but we have news again today. Adam has done well enough to earn himself a second episode. Nate is on a plane right now. He's currently flying home, and either I'm going to get him or somebody's going to get him. I don't know. I might have to head to the airport right after this and say, why weren't you on my show? Grab him by their shirt and say, Nathan, what the hell? The show comes first. But Adam, thank you for filling in. You're back. Welcome back. And again, I apologize for the logo not being there if it's not there. This is Not That It Matters for all the new listeners that are coming from Adam's side. And I appreciate all the listens here on the Bench Sports. But Adam, how's it going? How's your Friday? And you did tell me that I was going to see Will Myers at the A's game last game, and I didn't. He pinch hit in the 10th inning, but he didn't play. So you were wrong again there.
Well, thanks for having me on again. Couldn't get rid of me, huh?
Nope, couldn't.
Nope. In fact, I just saw a link and I just opened it up and I'm like, oh, let me join this podcast. But hey, but Max, you didn't see Will Myers, but you did go to an amazing game, and I would love for you to tell me more about the walk-off home run from Matt Olson.
It wasn't a homer. It was a double. It was off the wall,
That's
off
right.
the high part of the wall. But I will say Manny Machado, a good old golden sombrero for him, 4 strikeouts. That was fun to watch. Jed Lowry got the game off, started in the second inning with a home run, gave the A's lead, but honestly, pretty dead. The game was pretty dead. It was long. It was slow. Usually the way it's been going for all the baseball games I've been going to has been, it's been very slow or very quick, I should say, with the starters until it hits the bullpens. And once it hits the bullpens, then the game really tends to slow down. It's the exact opposite. The game was pretty slow with the starters. Montas was a little iffy at the start, like he always is. And I thought Musgrove pitched a great game, but the A's were down 2 to their last strike twice, and they pinch hit Andrews for Yan Gomes, and he came through in the clutch with a base hit up the middle to tie the game. And I don't know if you saw the play at the end of the ninth, but I believe it was who led off the game for them. Why am I blanking on this? Oh, Mark Canha hit a fly ball to right field with the man on second base, and the second baseman Frazier and the right fielder at this time, which was Will Myers, ran into each other and held on to the ball. With 2 outs, I had no idea how they ran it. They like caught it, and like as they caught it, they collided. I don't know how they held on to the ball. I don't know how they didn't drop it and how the A's didn't win there. But then in the next inning, Lou Trevino came out for another inning, and he gave up a run, but it was, what are you going to do? It's the extra inning rule, man on second base, but the A's came through in the clutch. They immediately got the runner over to third in a Starling Marte ground ball, and then the rest is history. Olsen 2-run double. After I believe who batted third for them? I'm totally blanking on this. After I believe Jed Lowry walked, yes, Jed Lowry walked. He was batting third for them. Jeffrey Lowry walked, and then he hit them both in with a ball. Pretty much, I don't know how it didn't go, but he thought it was gone. But A's are king of the walk-offs. It was an exciting game. That's why the voice is a little raspy. It was awesome. No foul balls this time, even though I was behind home plate. It was a ton of fun.
That's disappointing. But going to a game like that, that's a once in every blue moon opportunity to go to a game like that.
Well, yeah, it was so dead, and to have that comeback, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I was with my friend Tyler. He was home from Michigan State from school for a couple of weeks, and this is the one game we went to go see Tatis, to see the excitement that is Fernando Tatis Jr. And then he's hurt, and he might be out for the year. But we got the walk-off win. We're happy about it. He's a Mets fan, so he's like, look, with your Mets trailing and losing that division lead, you need the Padres to lose. You can possibly get that wild card. Exactly. But speaking of comebacks, I mean, how about the Giants yesterday? I know you know it. Down 4-0 going to the ninth. What a great game by Merrill Kelly. 8 shutout innings of 5 Ks for the Arizona Diamondbacks. But your boy Chris Bryant, trade piece coming through.
Coming through, just like the A's, Yan Gomes, and Chris Bryant. That hit was just so clutch, and no better person to get that hit than Chris Bryant. Just goes to show the great acquisition that he was, and he is, and he's going to continue to perform, continue to come through. I hope at least continue to come through for us like he did yesterday. But it was a great team win in general. Lamont Wade got the go-ahead hit. It's just the team effort, and that's why the Giants are so good this year. It's just not one guy. It's just the team effort, and that's baseball. That's just baseball at its best. And it was a very exciting game.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I just checked the application on the bench, and I do apologize. The logo did not change. So if you need to send a couple texts out, tell people that we are on the air because they think it says Out the Gym. This is not Out the Gym. This is Not That It Matters with Max Miller. I do apologize. People of the Bench Sports, if you're listening, delete your recordings because this is ridiculous. We keep asking and nobody's listening. So we continue though, but let's talk about those standings, talk about the parade of mediocrity that is the NL East. And the Mets, who, they went out and got Javi Baez. They don't have Edwin Diaz right now because he's on the paternity list, but they have a half game lead over the Phillies, and Atlanta got over 500 last night as well. And this division is almost a joke to me. I mean, the Mets, I think they should have rather gone after Chris Bryant. I think they did, but couldn't get the deal done. But, looking at the standings right here, I mean, these teams can't play on the road. I mean, other than the bottom three teams in Atlanta, Washington, Miami, both Philadelphia and the Mets are at least 10 games over 500 at home. But when it goes to the road, both teams are 23-32 and the Phillies are 25-32. So,
well, it's funny how on Wednesday's show, or I'm sorry, on the last show that we had,
Tuesday
Monday
show, whatever
show,
day it was,
Tuesday show, sometime this past week when I was on. But we mentioned it. We pretty much we were very quick to say that the Mets were going to win the division when it came to our predictions, and that's looking really premature of us to do that. I mean, we
after 1 week,
exactly, after just a few days, pretty much, and like we kind of forgot how poor this division is. It's pretty much like the East of the NBA. It's kind of a joke right now.
And the Mets have a good roster too. They just I'm not a fan of Luis Rojas. I'm not a fan of either of the New York team managers. I don't like Aaron Boone. He's got a team that's playing for him now. Finally, took him long enough. But Rojas, I know he was the fill-in for Beltran when they didn't let him, because of the cheating scandal, and they didn't want to have him be a part of that team after he came out that he was a big part of the cheating scandal with the Astros back in 2017. But I'm just I don't see him, and I know Tyler, who I said before is a Mets fan, I don't see him being a long-term option. I feel like you're too late now to make a change at manager. Well, I wouldn't say that. You're never too late, but doing it now might ruin the team because if the players do like him and want to play for him, then you can't. And then, I mean, going forward, I mean, Rojas then came out yesterday and said he intends to put Javi Baez at third base and because he likes having McNeil at second. When Lindor comes back, I mean, how are you going to do that? Lindor and Baez are meant to be playing as the two second and short. And Baez said he wants to play second base so he can turn the double plays and have fun with Francisco Lindor when he comes back. So I just don't know if he doesn't feel the heartbeat of the team. Obviously, injuries have a lot of issues to do with it. Obviously, they were missing J.D. Davis. They're starting third baseman for most of the season. DeGrom has been fighting injuries all year. And then, James McCann has just started to come around, but McNeil was hurt and Lindor wasn't himself, and now he's hurt as well. But when it comes to the other teams, I look at Atlanta, and they've got good pieces, but Acuna's out and their pitching struggles. I look at Philadelphia, they've got Harper, they've got Hoskins, they got Realmuto, but their bullpen is absolute garbage, and they have Joe Girardi as a manager. And then it's Miami, and at 47-62, they're only 9.5 games out. So I look at every one of these teams, and I look at I find a flaw within every one of these teams.
Yeah, exactly. And another division that's getting tighter as well is the AL East. And as a Yankees fan, Max, I want you to talk to me about how the Yankees are starting to get on a little roll here.
Yeah, they definitely have 6-1 since the trade deadline, 8-2 in their last 10. They've won 3 in a row. Boston is reeling a little bit. They're 3-7 in their last 10. Tampa Bay won their last game against Seattle, but that put them at 1-7 on the year against, or 1-6, I believe, against Seattle on the year. And so the Yankees, 14 days ago, were almost 10 games out of first place. And I can't go through this without talking about Toronto as well. Toronto's 8-2 and won their last 3. They're only 6.5 out. They're only a game behind the Yankees. So, I mean, not even that, just with the wild card race as well. Yankees and Oakland series is coming up, and that looms large because that is a 4-game series, especially if the A's can't catch Houston. But you look at the run differential, the Yankees only at +15, and you look at the other teams in the division, Toronto at +114 and leads that division in run differential. Boston +42. We know they can mash. And then obviously Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, I do believe, will still win this division, but Yankees are coming with a vengeance. Joey Gallo had his coming out moment yesterday. Rizzo's been Rizzo. And they're missing 3 of their starting pitchers in Garrett Cole and Jordan Montgomery due to COVID, and then Domingo Germán because of a shoulder inflammation. So they bring up this kid. I don't know if you watched this game, but they bring up this kid, Luis Gil, their number 6 overall prospect. And he's out there, pitched 6 innings. Yes, against Baltimore, but he pitched 6 innings and was lights out. He was top in 99. His stuff was electric, 6 shutout innings. He was great. And the Yankees won the game 10-1 after one person in the bullpen gave up 1 run. My issue is still the bullpen with this team now. You got the bats, but the bullpen, obviously the starters have always been an issue for the Yankees the last few years, but the bullpen, I was on my way to a hockey game last night and I'm listening to John Sterling on the way down talk about the 9th inning. And he's like, most pitchers want to get the first pitch strike to stay ahead of the batter. Well, Chapman does it the other way around. That scares me because he's melted down the last 2 playoffs and he's been okay this year. He was very good to start the year, but Chad Green gives up another run. He gave up a home run to Jared Kelenic in the 8th inning. And he got bailed out by Joey Gallo in the bottom half of the inning. But you look at the other bullpen arms, Jonathan Loaiza, can he continue this? He's a young arm. Zach Britton, he usually lets a couple guys on, then gets a double play out of it. And then Chapman goes 3-0 on every batter, miraculously comes out of it. He almost gave up a 3-run home run at the top of the 9th last night, and Gallo caught it, up against the wall. So, look, I'm excited. I'm happy, but they need to continue to perform. They've done this the whole year where they've gone really hot and then really cold and then really hot and then really cold. So for the first time this year, they're 10 games over 500. But this needs to continue for the last 2 months of the year. This can't just be, you're getting hot. You're motivated because you bought in Rizzo and Gallo and Heaney. Heaney is another statement. But so we'll see. I'm excited, but I got to temper my expectations a little bit here.
Yep. When it comes to baseball, it's all about consistency, and we'll see if they can stay consistent for the rest of the year. Yeah.
Tell me about the Giants. That comeback yesterday was awesome, but they just continuously, 7-3 of their last 10. They're 35-17 at home, 35-17. They're 31-20 on teams that are better than 500. That's awesome. You look at someone like the Dodgers are 24-29 against teams that are over 500. And San Diego's 31-24 teams against that teams are over 500, their record. So they're the Giant. They are a total surprise in the league. I think them and the Red Sox, but I think of the 2 teams, I think the Giants can do things in the playoffs if they stay consistent. Now we'll see what this team does and how they manage and if their arms tire out, but we'll go from there. Tell me about what the Giants are and how do you think, what's the key to them holding this 4-game lead over the Dodgers and especially with the Dodgers adding Scherzer and Trey Turner? What do the Giants need to do to win this division?
Well, the Giants are 4 games up from the Dodgers, so all they have to do is just keep what they're doing. And the main X factor will probably be Kevin Gausman. Because the last couple starts out of the All-Star break, Kevin Gausman did terribly. He kind of was okay during the Houston series. I went to that game. He was pretty wild. He was able to settle down after the first inning, but he did give up, I believe, 3 runs, if I'm correct. So he will have to stay consistent to hopefully his arm won't tire out, like you said. Hopefully his arm won't tire out. And I think a main key difference between the Giants and the Yankees, as you mentioned, is the bullpen. And I think the bullpen needs to stay consistent. They've been doing a great job. Jay Jackson lost it for during one of the games in the Diamondback series, this past series, and then comes back and strikes out the side with his nasty slider. Comes back the next game and does that. So, I think we have this really good bounce back mentality, next game mentality. So I think that that's going to carry the Giants to hopefully a division win. And I think that bullpen will be able to help them immensely going deeper and deeper into the playoffs. But we're not there yet. We're still in the regular season, and I'm still scared of the Dodgers. Padres, I'm a little less scared now that Tatis is out. But we'll see if he comes back later in the year. But, the Dodgers are always going to be looming for the rest of the year. So we just have to keep that in mind. The Giants, I keep saying we, like I'm a part of the team. I'm not a part of the team.
Definitely.
I'm only part of the San Francisco Fire, not the San Francisco Giants. But the Giants they need to just keep in mind that the Dodgers are going to be there, and that's scary. But this team has been surprising everyone. They've been defying the odds the entire year, and that's pretty much what they've been built on. So that mentality alone is going to help them.
Yeah, definitely. And so now the logo for the Bench Sports says "Out the Gym NBA Talk." This is not Out the Gym NBA Talk. This is Not That It Matters with Max Miller, and today Adam Jew. Adam, give me 1 minute, not even. I'm going to try and reset this channel. I'm going to try and get our logo on there because this is ridiculous and it's frustrating me. So give me 2 minutes, guys. Thank you for listening. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, and I don't know if it has the logo on there. I hope it does, but we're back. Thank you all for dealing with this.
Not that it matters.
Not that it matters. The logo's on the board, but
Not that it matters.
I feel like the one thing that does matter is people understand what they're listening to, and that is by seeing the logo.
And just gotta say, not that it matters, like every 2 minutes. And
yeah, that's the whole point. Not that it matters this hot take, not that it matters this hot take, but any lasting MLB thoughts before we move on here? Again, I apologize for the issues we're having here on the channel. And we're still working out the kinks here, and thank you all for listening. I apologize for kicking you all off. I had to turn the channel off air and on air, and I know my logo is still not even up there, so it was pointless. But give me your lasting MLB thoughts. What do you think happens in the other divisions quickly?
Well, we covered a lot, but everything other than the NL is pretty set, other than the NL East and the NL West. NL Central is a lock. But the AL is just going to be the one to look for, especially in the AL East and the AL West and in the wild card. So that wild card race is going to be very exciting.
Definitely. And, like I said before, you look at the A's and the Yankees, their records are almost identical right now. And if I go back to the standings here, so the Oakland at 61-48, the Yankees at 59 and 49. So, it's going to be a little interesting. I mean, the Yankees are, a game and a half back of Oakland for that, for the second wild card spot. Oakland's only 2.5 behind the Red Sox, who are reeling right now. So again, that Yankees series in 2 weeks against the A's is going to loom large here, but we move forward here. Not that it matters. We have the U.S. Olympic team, who struggled at the start of the exhibitions and possibly at the start of this Olympic tournament, but U.S. men's basketball Olympics team is in the gold medal game, which is tonight at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. We've got their stats pulled up. I mean, this team right now is living and dying by Kevin Durant, who, by the way, is going to sign a 4-year extension with the Brooklyn Nets. That just came out. And look, he's averaging 26 points a game. Sorry, he's averaging, where's his points per game? He's averaging 19 points a game. Sorry, 19 points a game. Yeah, 26 minutes a game. It's very weird. We've got the Olympic PDF on here, and this is all of August 5th, so it's good. But this team, I think is good. Jason Tatum, I think, has really stepped up and good. Drew Holiday, since coming from the finals, has been awesome. But look, Durant can just will this team to victory. And that's what happened last game against, I believe it was Australia. But people kept telling me, oh, they're not going to win. This team's not as good. They don't want as much. Look, I think this team has started to put its head down. I don't know if they can exactly, quote unquote, flip a switch, but they can. This team should beat France. There's no reason for them not to beat France. There's no reason to not get the gold medal here and win their 4th straight gold.
Yeah, and there's a quote by Greg Popovich, the head coach of the U.S. basketball team, and he said, all of these guys, they're used to scoring 20 points a game or plus for their team. This time in these games, they can't all do that. So I think they've done a great job of adjusting their lineups, adjusting their game plan, building around Kevin Durant. As none of these guys are averaging 20 a game, so they're kind of just spreading the ball around now. They kind of learned to spread the ball around, because when you look at this roster, people say, oh, it's not that good of a roster. I mean, maybe relative to some past U.S. men's basketball teams, but like this roster, if it was an NBA roster, they'd be 80-2 in the regular season. This is a dang good roster.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the people are talking about. This is a great roster. They just had to learn to play together, which is tough. They're playing
in any sport too.
Like several games. Yeah, they only have only so many games to get their chemistry right. And finally they have it. They've won 4 in a row, definitively 4 in a row. And they're coming against a French team that has Rudy Gobert, led by Rudy Gobert. Fournier is on the team, I believe.
For Team USA, Fournier is not on the team.
No, I'm sorry, for Team France.
Team France, yes.
Yeah, but they did lose against them. But we all knew what they were going through in the early stages of the Olympics. So it should be an exciting game. I don't see it being a very dominant game compared to the rest of the U.S. games. But we'll see. 7:30 p.m. tonight.
We'll see. I think definitely 7:30 p.m. tonight. I mean, Fournier is a spot-up shooter. Who's going to guard him? I think Jason Tatum is, and I think Rudy Gobert. We know what he can do. He can give people COVID, and he can block shots. So, it was a slight jab there. If you remember back in 2020, kind of the starting moment of the pandemic for me, at least, or in the sports world, was when he kind of finished his, they asked him about it and he finished his press conference, put his arms up and touches all the mics. And then a day later, he tests positive for COVID-19. So he was not well liked then. Obviously, Nick Batum, he's 33. He's been good. But this guy, Nando De Colo, he's 34 years old, doesn't play in the NBA. He's their second leading scorer, averaging about 14 points a game. But, in order for USA to win, they're going to need Bam Adebayo to really step up and kind of keep Gobert under control. And again, this team is right now living and dying by Kevin Durant. Jason Tatum has played and averaging 15 points a game, all off the bench, I might add. I think Draymond Green we could see him have an expanded role defensively, just trying to cover everybody. And I think we could really see a strong defensive game here from Team USA, just knowing that they can score, they can get this done. They can really win the gold and kind of prove the haters wrong. And like you said before, I think this team is stacked. I don't see this team really having any issues in this gold medal game. But look, they lost their exhibition games. I don't expect Team USA to ever go undefeated like they did before ever again. And whether that's they have the top roster, all the top USA men's basketball rosters, but the world is catching up to them. But also these players, they can't all be the dream team, right? That team was insane with Magic, Bird, Jordan, Pippen, right? All those guys. This is not them. Nobody will ever be them, as much as the guys now that want to be them. So, and like I said, the world is catching up to them. And look, in order to stay on top, they've got to improve their game. And I think this team also really needed to kind of learn a new style of offense, because some of these guys who have been there before and have played for Team USA, Coach Krzyzewski from Duke is not their coach anymore. It's back to Greg Popovich, who was an assistant there, but it's a different offense to learn. Obviously, the triangle offense isn't easy. Look at the Knicks, look at, the Spurs after they lost Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. The team just had to learn it, and there was a lot of growing pains. So it looks like this team is kind of rolling now, and they should get the win here.
Absolutely. Say less.
So, moving on here from the Olympics, it's been good. I think there's been fun. They're starting to wind down here. Team USA men's baseball is in the final. I believe that is either tonight or tomorrow morning as well, but we'll take a look. They're rematching Japan, who they lost to before, but they were able to go through the losers bracket and get into the top. But we move forward here, and I know you're not a big hockey guy, but I've got to talk about some stuff. There's been a couple contracts, coming out. Darnell Nurse, who was a top defenseman for the Edmonton Oilers this year, signed an 8-year, which is the maximum allowable you can sign when you're re-signing with a team, with a cap hit of $9.25 million, which, Adam, when I tell you that's an overpayment, that's an overpayment. He's a top defenseman in the NHL, and he's really good, but he's 27. So this contract will now end when he's 35, 36 years old. And defensemen, once they hit 30, kind of turn a corner. And at 9.25, that's a lot of money. I believe he's now the fourth highest paid defenseman in the NHL, and he's not the fourth best defenseman in the NHL. Not by a long shot. He's a very good player, but he is not the top. He did not get deserved pay like that. And the Oilers have just been not good at signing contracts. Tell me what you know about the Kraken and how you think they're going to do based off your lack of knowledge in the sport. I want to know what your prediction is, and we'll come back and revisit after the season.
All right, NHL listeners, please bear with me and excuse my stupidity on NHL. But yes, the Kraken, I know that the Kraken have been established in Seattle. They just had their expansion draft. They got some players. They got some hockey players. I'm super excited about that.
That's a good statement. That is true, Adam. They did.
I'm sure my players. Seattle friends are super excited to go to some hockey games in Seattle. But other than that, they should be a pretty good team. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Max? What are the Seattle Kraken going to be, in the mix for anything this year?
So I can tell you right now, I'm sure you know about Vegas when they first came in. They went to the Stanley Cup final.
Yes.
So they are not going to do that. They're not at all going to do that. So the way that Ron Francis, who's their general manager, builds his teams, he likes to build his teams from the goalie to defense to forward. So the expansion draft, there were a couple goalies out there. He got his guy named Chris Strieger. He had been behind a guy named Sergei Bobrovsky in Florida, who's a top goalie in the league, who struggled with them. But the Florida Panthers also have a 19-year-old goalie who is the top goalie prospect in the league, in the world right now. And so he was able to be exposed, and they had no real space for him. So it was kind of an easy decision to leave him exposed in the draft. But the curious thing here is the Colorado Avalanche goalie who just won the Norris, or who finished either second or third in Vezina, which is goalie of the year votes. He was tremendous this year. Hit the free agent market and didn't re-sign with the Colorado. He signed a contract, which might have been a little expensive, but we'll see if he's good because he's not been a starter for that long with the Kraken. So people are very confused on that statement. I mean, he's a good goalie. We'll see, but the guy that they got, Driga, like I was talking about before, he's there. So they have a good goalie tandem now. It'll just be interesting to see how they use it. And the other thing Ron Francis loves when he moves forward to the defense is he loves big defensemen. Their defensemen are huge. And when I say huge, it's not like, oh, he's a hockey player, he's big. Like they got like 3 guys who are 6'4". They got 2 guys who are 6'6". This is a big body team. There will be physicality. There will be tough to play against, and they're going to play. You can't score on us because you can't get past my big body, and I have a really good goalie. The part where they're
the size, does that factor into maybe the quickness of the defenders? What's more beneficial for the defense? Is it size or is it quickness to get to the offense?
It's a little of both. It's a little of both. When I look at some of these players, some guys, so this guy Hayden Fleury, he's a young guy, he's 25 years old, and he's 6'3", 208. He's a good defenseman, he's pretty mobile, but their biggest defenseman, his name is Jamie Oleksiak. His nickname, Adam, the Big Rig. So he's 6'7", 255 pounds. And so he's not the fastest, but he can move. I mean, even a guy I hadn't even heard about who they took from Buffalo, his name is Will Borgen. He's never even played in the NHL. He's played, I think, 6 games it was. He's 25 years old, 6'3", 205. Their smallest defenseman is 6 foot, 203. So he's these guys are big. They've got a big defense. They can move. And obviously their goalies are good. But the part, their forwards, they're not crazy size. They're actually kind of small, their forward core, but they don't have any real scoring, right? So they have a lot of guys who are work hard guys, as I like to call them, or as the blue collar, a lot of Draymond Greens on offense. They're very good at all assets of the game. The offense is kind of lagging. They got 1 or 2 guys who can probably score 20 goals a year, which is like averaging 12 points a game in the NBA, if I can compare that, 12 to 15 points a game. So they got good guys, but not too many. So we'll see what they do in terms of making trades. But defensively, they should be strong. If you watched any of the Stanley Cup playoffs this year, the New York Islanders like to play games where they win 1-0 or 2-1. That's going to be the same goal as Seattle Kraken, is to win games 2-1, win games 3-1, with that third goal being the empty net goal. But in terms of when looking at the Sharks here, the guy they lost, Alex True, is a young centerman. He's 6'5". He's huge, and he just signed his contract with the Kraken. He was a restricted free agent, so I don't think he makes the team out of camp. But their top line center, the Kraken, Yanni Gourde, is out with an injury and shoulder surgery. So we'll see if True makes it in the Sharks' perspective. But looking at the Sharks here, the goalie they traded for a couple weeks ago, Aiden Hill from Arizona, he signed a contract for 2 years, so he avoids his arbitration hearing. And then they added on 2 players one named Andrew Cogliano and a guy, Nick Benino. And here's a cool story for you about Nick Benino. Nick Benino, 15 years ago, was drafted in the NHL by the San Jose Sharks and never played a game for them, but he will this year. He signed a 2-year contract with them. But of your Sharks, have you been to any Sharks game? Tell me what you've been like if you've been to a game, what your experience was like and when.
Yeah, I've been to a few Sharks games actually, but it was back in the day where oh God, I'm gonna butcher their names. It was so long ago. Let's see, Doyle.
Yep, you got it right.
Boyle.
First try, Dan Boyle. Yeah,
Dan Boyle. Thornton.
Yep. Well, he was just there till this past year.
Yeah. Man, that's the only ones I remember. I have a signed hockey puck too that my aunt gave me, but I still don't. I know it was a defender, and I know he was really good, but I forgot his name.
What does it have a number on it? Is it near you? I might be able to decipher this.
Yeah. It's far away. It's over there, man. But yeah, it's fine. But but I will say this though, the games are one of the most exciting games live. Going to live, they are the best. It's so fun and it's so exciting. Unfortunately, I haven't kept up with watching it on TV at all, obviously. But
I don't blame you. I'll tell you this. So NHL is going to ESPN and TNT, just like the NBA. They've been on NBC and they did a horrible job advertising. Now, ESPN hasn't started off great, but they've only had the regular NHL draft and the expansion draft. So I'm hoping for them to do better advertising when it comes to the season, but continue. So you should be able to see more headlines, right? Because did you see any NHL commercials other than local Sharks commercials?
No.
Right. Nothing. So they just signed new TV deals with ESPN and TNT. So we're hoping for bigger and better things, but continue. Yes, going to a hockey game is awesome, but continue.
Yeah, it's great. No, and my dad hates it, the Sharks thing that they do when they when they go up and down with their hands, they clench like a shark's jaw.
Oh, on the
They just
power
get,
play?
yeah, they just get
The
the
power play?
crowd.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. They just get the crowd really into it. And you never know what's going to happen. It's kind of like soccer, except more exciting, I
Faster.
guess. Yeah, fast,
Faster.
much faster paced. They're bodying each other. It's a lot of fun, and I hope to go to more. Um, but it's a very fun time. Anyone should go. Everyone
Yeah.
should go.
So okay, so tell me this, and what is more exciting? You may be biased here, but I want to go with this before we move on to our last NHL topic here, and that's going to be Evander Kane. But do you put hockey and basketball in terms of like when you're physically at the game ahead in terms of excitement at the game ahead of football and ahead of baseball? I easily guess baseball because baseball comes first, but I do football as well. But are you the same way? Oh no, I think I lost Adam. He's frozen on me. I apologize. I don't know what's going on here. Adam, if you can hear me, you're frozen. This was a huge topic for us to discuss. I'll have to shoot him a text. I don't know what's going on here. I still have Wi-Fi. We're not dead here. I think Adam may have lost Wi-Fi. Yes, he just texted me his Wi-Fi just went out. We'll try to get him on here as much as possible, but I'll ask him that question when he comes back. I apologize for all the technical difficulties today. This has been Not That It Matters, Max Miller. Check out Peak Clothes. That's PEAK clothes.com and use code bench2. This is Not That It Matters. This is not out the gym, even though it says that on the app. I apologize. But Adam and I are whenever he comes back, are going to discuss Evander Kane's situation. We're going to discuss how he enjoys watching the sport of hockey, and we also got a lot more coming up. We're going to touch on a little bit more NBA free agency. We're going to touch on a little bit more of the and something that he and I wanted to talk about was also the UFC 265 heavyweight interim title matchup this weekend. We'll touch on that in the very end as well. But moving forward here, I'll introduce you guys to the Evander Kane situation before I get Adam back here, if I can get him back here. It looks like he's coming back here right now. Let's see if I got him. He's loaded in here. I see his name on the Zoom. He's connecting the audio now. Adam, do I have you, Adam? Is Adam here? Can he hear us? I can't hear him yet. He's talking. I see him moving his mouth, but I can't hear him. I don't know what's going on here. Again, I apologize for the I can't hear you, Adam. I don't know if you're muted. Check your headphones. It says connecting to audio again here. Oh,
Can I hear you?
yeah.
I can hear
Now
you.
I got you. I got Adam back.
Okay. I'm so sorry. The bench HQ's internet went out, so I have to readjust here.
Okay, what was the last thing you heard of me? What I did is I read my little ad read that I had for Peak Clothes, and I was in the middle of asking you an important question, but I want to know what was the last thing you heard from me.
Great improv. You were going to ask me about something. I said hockey games were the best to go to. Everyone should go to hockey games, and then you were about to ask me about something.
Okay, so I was going to say, what would you rank in terms of excitement when physically at the game, in terms of basketball, football, hockey, and baseball? And I would think if I had to guess, hockey and basketball would be above both football and baseball. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, which would you prefer? Which is more exciting? And I know you might be a little biased on this, but at the game, which is more exciting over a consistent basis, which is more not necessarily fun, because I know you probably don't understand as much what's going on in hockey, but in terms of just excitement level, is basketball more exciting or is hockey more exciting? This is a key question here.
I mean, I probably don't know much about hockey, but I would say hockey. Like, honestly, regular season games, in a regular season game, yes, hockey. It's no question, because even though I don't know much about it, it's still easy enough to follow, right? And I could just go with the crowd, and I could just go with what's happening. Puck goes into the goal, I scream.
Puck goes into the goal, I scream. I love it, and I will say I'm a little surprised you said that. But hockey is have you ever been to a playoff game? Oh, I think we've frozen him again. Oh no, maybe his Wi-Fi came back and now his phone is connecting. Adam, what's going on? This was me last week. I had my internet die on me last week. Y'all know this. I do again. I apologize. Adam, if you're there, say something. He's frozen on me again. But I will say this, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a little surprised he said hockey. He's a big basketball fan. He loves his Giants. He loves his Warriors. But I've got him back. I have movement.
Okay, my internet is back. Let's see if I can. Oh no.
It's
Okay,
not bad.
I'll stay on my phone.
Well, stay on your
For the time
phone, and if you need to join from your computer, go for it at any time when I'm talking about it. But let's get into the Evander Kane conversation here. I sent you some links beforehand. You write up a little bit about it. Look, and I know you don't know much about Evander Kane, but Evander Kane has had a history of issues with money. He got run out of Winnipeg and Buffalo because of this. I mean, there was pictures that surfaced with him holding stacks of cash to his ears in Winnipeg because he's like, oh, he's this sick player. And don't get me wrong, he had his best season ever this year, which brings what happened with his now or soon to be ex-wife, Anna Kane, into the situation. Very, very peculiar. So Anna Kane came out while I was in New York, and she said, on her Instagram story, I don't know where she said, quote, so you leave July 8th. You do not call or text for 7 days. You're informing me you're going to Europe for a vacation. That must be nice. But at the same time, tell me our house is being taken by the bank. Do not come home to help your pregnant wife pack or help with anything at all. You have enough money to party and stay in hotels in Europe and go to dinners every night. But you can't buy my daughter formula, and you force me to sell my wedding ring and have any money to sell my wedding ring to have any money to survive, as you party every day and night, never calling your daughter and never even asking one of them how I'm doing by myself. I don't know if there are even words to describe the kind of evil person that you are to abandon your wife who's pregnant with your son and 1-year-old daughter who walked around the house with her bunny saying dad for a week long for you. Don't post old pictures of you at home with her or with her. Everyone knows the type of person you are. And then she also goes on to say, at NHL on Instagram, can somebody ask Gary Bettman, the commissioner, how they can let a player gamble on his own games, bet with bookies on his own games? And then posted a picture of saying, when your teammates give you this book, and it's Casino Gambling for Dummies, when your teammates give you this book, they are trying to tell you something that maybe you're not the best at tables, bud. So look, that was the start of it. When you hear that, Adam, what's the first thought that goes into your head here?
Man, this guy seems like a scumbag. What in so this guy, I don't know, man. The first word that comes to mind is this guy's terrible. I don't know. I mean, this is only from her perspective. Obviously I haven't heard the perspective of him yet. I've read the article. He pretty much denied everything that she mentioned. But yeah, like this just seems like a rough divorce.
Yeah, so yeah. That's the thing is my question is, we're still waiting for more information. Is this because of the divorce, or is this because of, she's just mad and we don't know? So the NHL has come out and said they're investigating Kane on not the other stuff with the selling the wedding, the partying, that's his own life. The NHL has no policy on doing that, but they are investigating the game. They're investigating it based off the integrity of the game. So it screams Pete Rose, who's banned from baseball. And let's say this. So the Sharks, from a contract standpoint, if they can get rid of that contract, if that contract's terminated, the Sharks could be in a little bit of help here to get some contract space. But that's from the hockey standpoint.
Now, Kane, is Evander Kane, is he a good player?
So Evander Kane arguably was the best player on the Sharks last year. He's a left winger. So if he is betting on his own games, and she also wanted to say that he was throwing games, which as a left wing, Adam, is extremely hard to do. He's a winger, so it's not like he can, the easiest position to throw a game for, in goalie, in hockey is the goalie, right? He just lets a couple softies in here or there. He doesn't try. As a winger, right, what are you going to do? Not shoot the puck? Like, it's hard, because if he throws the game, everybody will see it, and his coach won't play him. But he had his best defensive year as a forward. He was really good. He had his best offensive output year in terms of points per game and goals per game, and was an impact player every night. So in Kane's response, he says that. He says, quote, I gotta wait for this, go away. He says, quote, I never gambled. Well, he has a gambling issue, by the way. He is in debt. Apparently. He is in a lot of debt. This came out before the last year. He's in a lot of debt to casinos in Vegas. I believe it was over $30 million in debt to casinos in money. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But he said, go ahead.
That's insane. No, I was just going to say, that's crazy how much money he's indebted to Vegas.
And it's all from casinos and gambling. So we've known this has been an issue. And so Kane went on to say, he said on a tweet, he said, quote, I have never gambled / bet on hockey, never gambled / bet on a Sharks game, never gambled / bet on any of the games, and never thrown a hockey game. The facts are, personally had my best season of my career last year and was the most consistent I've been throughout my season. And I'm proud of that. I love the game of hockey, and I would never do any of what was alleged. I look forward to cooperating fully with the league's investigation and having my name cleared. Looking forward to this upcoming season. So look, Anna Kane, she was pretty upset, pretty angry about this, as one would say. But again, we're still waiting on more facts. But based off Kane's response, and I will say Kane has, and Anna mentions this in her response to his response. He has the media. He's an NHL player. He can get the media. People are going to ask him. He can post whatever, and people will he can. I don't want to say he can manipulate the media, but he has more of a media presence. That's what I'm looking for, media presence, than his wife, who we've never heard of.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens and what the ultimate result is of this. His response, it seems like, he clearly plays innocent, inviting the league to come investigate his wrongdoings. I mean, like, it seems like this guy just seems like a bad person in general from his wife's perspective, and maybe just hasn't gambled before. Maybe this is just an additional thing that his wife is putting on him. Or maybe that this guy is actually, that $30 million in debt, maybe a few bucks of those went to hockey games. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm going to look for the exact number of what he's in debt for. Going into last year, this was posted on actually May 4th of this year. It says Evander Kane's saga regarding his bankruptcy case continued Tuesday with a report from The Athletic saying that the lender is suing the Sharks player Evander Kane for $15 million plus attorney's fees. And Kane filed for bankruptcy in January, claiming $26.8 million in total debt. $26.8 million in total debt. For a reference, let me get you his contract, Adam, because it's pretty steep. He's not a role player. He's not a $2 million guy. So after the 17-18 season, so before the 18-19 season, he signed a 7-year, $49 million contract with the Sharks. He's making about $7 million every year for the next 7 years, and he's about to go into year 4 of that contract. So by no means is he poor.
No.
So if it's 26 million,
I would gamble away $30 million in potential money of
whatever.
On nothing, on a yacht or something. Maybe a nice sports car, but not $30 million down Vegas.
Yeah, and the Sharks have played Vegas in the playoffs in 2 of the last 4 years when they've made the play. Actually, the last 3 times they made the playoffs, they've played Las Vegas. So they've had to travel there. They went this year too as well because of the closed off season. But quickly here before we move on here to a little bit of NBA and into the UFC event from this weekend. But in the response to Kane's response, Anna saying, trying to see your daughter, ? From where? Europe with a person, I don't know who it is. And then she said, or try to FaceTime her on your schedule whenever she's napping, she's playing. She has no idea what FaceTime is. What about this? You can afford a hotel rooms in Europe, but not in San Jose to see your daughter, who is important to you. I also offered to completely leave our home for a week or 2 in our text messages so you could see her, but you chose to go party and gamble. I wish I had access to the press like you do. Keep lying. And then she responded to kind of the New York Post article. She said, soon to be ex-wife, I tried to stop you from gambling. Has anybody ever dealt with an addict? And she goes on forward. She says, everything Evander says is calculated lie that makes her look crazy. She also says, so I was supposed to let you gamble, cheat on me with prostitutes and be okay with that in life. And then the part with the press is she says, the press is letting him control the narrative of who he is. I think anybody can see right through his manipulation and see through the truth. I asked him to go to therapy, but he told me it's not important for us to save our marriage. He doesn't want to get the help. He doesn't want to be a real man or father. He wants to gamble and live life freely. And it's a very interesting thing. And this is what the NHL public relations came out and said after this. The league was made aware of in the evening of the post on social media, alleging that Sharks player Evander Kane bet on NHL games. The integrity of our game is paramount. The league takes these allegations very seriously. We intend to conduct a full investigation. We'll have no further comment at this time, which is fine. And the NHL said they want to get this investigation done by the start of training camp to know if he can play or if he can't play or whatever is going on. But hearing the full story now, we've talked about all 3 assets, the first instance, Kane's response, and the response to Kane's response. Look, I'm in the boat where marriage can be very messy. Marriage can be very messy. So we don't know where this motive is coming from. If it's truthful, which it might be, I'm not saying it's not, or if it's just she's mad at him for the divorce and what's going on. But Kane, given his reputation, it leads me to believe that this is not something that is completely impossible, right? We hear men say, oh, he did this to me. There's a whole bunch of stuff that is is messy in marriages. And now that you know the full story, Adam, what do you feel is going to happen? Do you think he did bet on games? Give me your full thoughts before we move on here.
Yeah, you mentioned his past wrongdoings, and the pattern all goes towards him doing it. I don't know, maybe. Yeah, it's tough. I really can't make a prediction until we fully see everything, because it's just hearsay for right now. But I'd be pissed if my spouse went to Europe without me too. I'll just say that.
Well, yeah, and then just gambled and stuff like this. I mean, it's Vegas. I mean, it sounds like he hasn't been home at all. I mean, this is a big statement. So, look, as a hockey person, and it's a plan for the Sharks, so it's something that you should be able to see more locally in local news as well. But Adam, I appreciate you. I know we just spent like 25 minutes on hockey. I want to say appreciate you. Did great, Adam. No. You did great. Not that it matters, but you did great on the hockey.
I'm glad. It was interesting, and it's when you sprinkle in a little bit of drama like the Evander Kane deal, it gets even more interesting. So
now there's more drama with the Chicago Blackhawks, but that's a situation I don't want to talk about. That's back in 2010 when they won the Stanley Cup. There was a coach who was sexually manipulating, influencing, and doing a whole bunch of other stuff to players, telling them they can't, if you don't do this to me or you don't let me do this to you, you're not going to play in the NHL, which is a whole nother statement. And
tune in Wednesday to find out.
Tune in next Tuesday or Wednesday to find out. Yeah, definitely. We'll get it done. We'll get that in. But Adam, let's go on something we know we're about. Let's talk about this weekend's UFC event. The big Derrick Lewis is fighting for an interim heavyweight belt. And now before I get this going, Derrick Lewis was my first favorite fighter. Because the first UFC event that I kind of sat down and watched and really got into was the Khabib McGregor fight. And that was the fight where Derrick Lewis was getting absolutely destroyed by Alexander Volkov in the co-main. And then with 5 seconds left, miraculously won and knocked him out. And then did his King Kong gorilla celebration afterwards. And then Joe Rogan goes up to him and he says, "Derrick, great fight. Why'd you take your pants off?" And Derrick's response was, "My balls was hot." And I was hooked from the rest of the way in Derrick Lewis. And he lost to Daniel Cormier in his first title chance. But this is for an interim belt because Francis Ngannou and John Jones can't agree to terms. More John Jones. But this is going to be a good fight. I mean, it's going to be Derrick Lewis versus Carl Gagne. I mean, they're the number 2 and 3 heavyweight contenders. Lewis is not the favorite, but give me what you know about the main fight as well as the other fights, and I'll chime in when I know stuff.
Yeah. So just like you, that was my first event that I really sat in, was the McGregor Khabib fight.
Wow.
But a break from UFC, and then I think for a lot of people, I got into UFC during the COVID pandemic because that was the only thing on. That was the only sport event on. So now I'm kind of pretty much an MMA junkie, at least aspiring to be. I think I'm between a casual and a junkie right now. But I'm trying my best to keep up. Derrick Lewis versus Ciryl Gane. So it's either going to be a very, very interesting fight where Ciryl Gane dominates Derrick Lewis, and Derrick Lewis will just come in with one big punch to knock him out and win the championship.
That's his thing.
Or that's his thing. Or it's going to be a very, very boring fight, because Ciryl Gane has been criticized for putting on boring fights against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, against Alexander Volkov. He pretty much has his Muay Thai stance, and he likes to pick apart his opponent in not the most exciting way either. So that might happen. I probably will see that happen, and then probably have him win by a unanimous decision, or maybe a TKO in maybe the later rounds. And that's how Ciryl Gane wins his fights. But we will see. You never know with the Derrick Lewis fight. Whenever Derrick Lewis is headlining an event, whenever he's fighting, you always have to tune in, because you never know what's going to happen. And it's not just this fight either. It's this whole event, UFC 265. It's a great card. And the
not the best card, but it's a good card. Not the best card, but it's a good card.
Best, obviously. But it's an underrated card, I would say, especially for the casuals who are listening. I don't mean casuals in a derogatory manner, like what in how social media puts it. If you're a casual, that's completely fine. Get into the sport. It's a very exciting sport. My 65-year-old uncle, if you're listening, and I know that you are, he just got into the UFC a couple months ago, and I was so surprised that he got into the UFC. And it's great because it's a great sport to tune into. But when you look at the prelims, you got Alonzo Menafield, who's got heavy hands like Derrick Lewis, but he's in the light heavyweight division against Ed Herman. But the one key prelim event fight that you should really pay attention to is Rafael Fiziev against Bobby Green. And Max, do you know anything about Fiziev or Bobby Green in this fight?
Well, just looking at this, Fiziev is 8-1. So is this his UFC debut? I don't know if this is. I don't think it is, but
no,
it's not.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so he's 28 years old. He's from Kyrgyzstan. Yeah, and so his last few fights, he's one of those guys in the lightweight division that kind of everyone doesn't really want to fight. He's that type of guy. His kickboxing and his Muay Thai is amazing. His kicks are absolutely incredible. He's kind of like the next boogeyman in the lower echelon of the lightweight division that no one really wants to fight. And of course, the guy who steps up to fight him is Bobby Green, who Bobby Green will fight anyone. So this fight is going to be super exciting. It's going to be Fiziev's toughest matchup, maybe close to Renato Moicano, but Fiziev knocked Renato Moicano out in the first round in his last fight. So that's the main prelim fight. That's very exciting. Fiziev is 28 years old only, and he's a prospect. He has a high ceiling in the lightweight division, which is a stacked division.
Yes.
So that's a fight that you need to look out for the prelims. And then the main card all around, it's going to be great. Max, which fight other than the Derrick Lewis fight, which one are you more excited about?
I would say other than the Derrick Lewis fight, Jose Aldo's fighting versus Pedro Munoz, and that's a good fight in all the bantamweight. But I'm really looking at this welterweight fight with Vincent Luque and Michael Chiesa. I mean, I think this is gonna be a great fight. Luque's up and coming, right? He's the silent assassin is his name, and that really describes him perfect. Michael Chiesa, 18-4, both Americans. One, Chiesa's got 2 inches on him, but similar reach. But it's gonna be injury. Very interesting. Chiesa is more of a grappler. He does not actually have a win by KO or TKO. Mostly 61% of his wins, and he has, by the way, he has 18 wins. So 61% of those 18 wins come via submission and the rest by decision. Now, Luque is more of he wins 35 by submissions and 55 by TKO or KO, and he's got 20 wins. So it's almost like a clashing of styles here. We got one grappler and one kind of striker, one more all around. So, Jose Aldo might have more fame and history, but I feel like this fight between two guys that are kind of looking to get higher in the rankings with Chiesa at 5 and Luque at 6, maybe this is the fight to get them to that one step closer to possibly the title weight against, I believe is welterweight. That is Usman, is it not, for the champ there? And Usman can do everything. So, and look, if they win, do they fight Masvidal? Do they fight Wonder Boy? Who do they fight? That's the one I'm looking at in the prelims and who are not in the prelims, sorry, in the main card. That's not Derrick Lewis and Sirgan, but give me the other one that you're looking at here.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The Chiesa and Vicente Luque fight is going to be great. Also, another fight that I'm looking forward to is Song Yadong versus Casey Kenny.
Great name.
Yeah, great name. Song Yadong is only, guess what? Guess how old Song Yadong is?
24. That's my guess here.
Close. He's 23. He's only
he's younger.
He's 23 years old. And he's in a very stacked bantamweight division. Fortunately, he lost his last fight against Kyler Phillips. But Kyler Phillips is no joke, even though he did lose his last fight. But Kyler Phillips is also a great prospect. But going back to Song Yadong, he's great. He's got fast hands. He's great all around. He trains at Alpha Male, which is led by Drive Faber. So that's where all the great bantamweights are training at nowadays. So Song Yadong is a great prospect. He'll be very exciting to watch against Casey Kenny. Casey Kenny is he's older, 30 years old, so he's not exactly, a prospect like Song Yadong. He lost to Dominic Cruz, but Dominic Cruz is a very tough fight. He's a bantamweight GOAT, pretty much. But, Casey Kenny is no joke either, so that should be a banger. But going back to Vicente Luque and Michael Chiesa, that's just going to be it's a classic wrestler versus striker matchup, and this fight could determine the future of the welterweight division, because the past couple years it's been Usman versus either Colby Covington,
which is happening again.
Yeah, which is happening again, which I cannot wait for. And then Gilbert Burns and Leon Edwards. So this fight will just add another name to a very top heavy, but very interesting welterweight division. So I'm very excited for that fight. If you asked me what my prediction was, I'd probably go Vicente Luque by KO. Chiesa, we'll see how Luque deals with Chiesa's wrestling. But Luque's got a chin, and he beat Tyron Woodley in his last fight, which kind of brought him up in the rankings and brought him up in terms of name value. So I think that the UFC is really pushing for Luque to win. As much as I hate to say that, the UFC is pretty biased when it comes to their fighters. But
That's
Chiesa's
an understatement, but it sells the money.
But Chiesa is also a very popular fighter. He's a broadcaster. He won the Ultimate Fighter. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup. And I'm also excited, like you said, for Jose Aldo versus Pedro Munoz. Jose Aldo is trying to make a comeback in the bantamweight division this time, and Pedro Munoz is going to be a great test for him. And I think Jose Aldo will also win that bout as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm excited to watch all these fights. I don't know if I'm going to pay for it. I think I might just illegally stream it. Be quiet. But just because I don't
tell Uncle Dana that.
What?
Don't tell Uncle Dana that.
No, Dana. No, you didn't hear it from us. This is just not that it matters with Maximum on the Bench Sports. We're definitely not going to illegally do it. But no, I appreciate it. This has been fun, Adam. We've got a couple minutes here, but give me, of what we've talked about today. Do you feel like we've hit everything? Or are we missing anything? We got a couple minutes here. Obviously, we talked about baseball, basketball. Kawhi Leonard says he's going to sign Kevin Durant signing a 4-year extension with the Nets. But in terms of what's going to happen next week in sports, do we see any more big signings, trade the NBA? Do we see Zach LaVine, Damian Lillard get moved? I don't think LaVine anymore. Do we see Damian Lillard get moved? Do we see any changing of the guards in the MLB? Did the Dodgers slump? Do the Giants keep going? Do the Yankees come back? Give me some hot takes for next week before we leave here today.
Hot takes. Well, I don't know if this will be a hot take, but the NBA free agency is basically, it's a wrap when it comes to everything. Kawhi Leonard re-signed. Probably the biggest name that just signed with another team is Kelly Oubre Jr., who signed with the Hornets. So I think the Hornets might be an exciting team this year. I think my hot take will be that the Hornets will be a top 6 seed in the East.
So they missed the play-in. No playing game for the Hornets.
No, they don't need the play-in. They're going to go straight to the playoffs, I think. Evolving. That's my next year prediction. When it comes to next week, we'll see. I haven't really checked the MLB schedules for the Giants or the Dodgers. I'm pretty sure they're playing pretty soon, though.
I believe you're correct.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. But I know next week.
While you talk,
Yeah, go ahead. But I know next week the Giants are facing the Rockies at the later end of the week next week. So that'll be at homes, I believe. So that'll be interesting to watch. The Rockies, they, to put it bluntly, they suck. So that, they should be able to win the series there. The LA Dodgers, I don't know if you have their schedule pulled up.
So they don't play the Dodgers till the beginning of September, but they play the Brewers starting today, a 3-game set, who lead the NL Central. So that's kind of a good test, I feel like, for the Giants.
That'll be a huge test. It'll be a huge test. But like, as you said earlier in the pod, in this live show, the Giants, they play well against good teams. So, but the Brewers are another good team. So it'll be another test, another maybe, glimpse of what we see in the playoffs. So I'm excited for this week. I'm excited for the rest of the season for baseball.
Sweet. Definitely. Yeah. Keep listening to the Bench Sports. Again, I apologize for technical difficulties today without the logo changing and then kicking guys off and then try to fix it. And then obviously, Adam, you got to get that internet fixed. Come on, Uncle Dana. We're not illegally streaming yet. But appreciate it. Coming up after me, we got Final Take with Ryan Lip. He's going to give you some nice hot takes. Check out the YouTube channel, Not That It Matters, with Max Miller. We'll get these uploaded soon. And Adam, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me again.
Keep listening to the Bench Sports. This has been Max Miller on Not That It Matters.